I'm Robert Glazer from Ripe Chartered Accountants, and I'd like to welcome Marcus King from the Cost Detectives. Hi Marcus.
Hi Rob.
Hi, thanks for coming in today. Why don't you explain, first of all, generally, how do you help companies?
Well, there's a number of ways, but what we do is we create cash and profits for companies, and we do that by looking at every single cost within a business. And then we try and highlight areas for that business for them to recognise where they can make cost savings. Obviously, it's not all about costs, it's about relationships as well,
Right.
and we recognise that those are important. For example, one of the questions we might ask is, when was the last time you saw your bank manager? And you'd be surprised how many people go, oh, I haven't seen them for months or years even, and I think we've had 8 in the last 5 years, I'm not even sure who it is.
Yeah.
So we'll say to them, okay, so if we can find somebody cheaper or better, you don't mind moving.
Yeah.
And that applies to accountants as well. We will ask them, when was the last time you saw your accountant? And they'll go, well, he comes in once a year and does our tax return. I say, well, these days that's just not good enough. So it helps clients out. Quite often they don't have the expertise in-house to look at all their costs.
Right.
Or they just don't have the time.
Yeah.
So we provide that service for them.
Okay. I guess there's quite a bit of competition out there, particularly in the current climate. How do you set yourselves out as different? What's your USP?
Well, we have a fairly unique. Can you have a unique USP? I'm not sure. But we have a guarantee, which seems to work very well. And the guarantee states that if we don't find 10 times our fee in cost savings, then we won't charge you at all.
Wow.
So that completely de-risks it for the client.
Sure.
And they have nothing to lose.
Sure. So people must be banging on your door.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and especially in this climate. The economic climate is still tough, and the news over the last few days says it's going to go on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
So,
do you find any resistance to coming into people? If you ask people, well, you should have this service. Do you ever find reasons why they don't?
Some of the finance directors sometimes get a bit twitchy because they feel as though you're telling them what they should have been doing.
Yeah.
But we always say, look, you're incredibly busy. You've got other things to do,
Sure.
and you can't be an expert in everything.
Yeah.
They come around eventually.
Okay. And what do you find? You save the most amount of money?
Well, that does change quite a lot. I guess the flavour of the month probably at the moment is sort of 2 things: print.
Yeah.
And merchant credit card services. Print, because the industry is still changing. It's sort of dividing into 2. There's a big section where you've got huge players who've got print works all over the place.
Yeah.
And then you've got the little cottage industry guys where they've only got 1 printer. Then there's sort of gap in the middle now.
Yeah.
And they're fighting really hard in the middle, and the prices are still falling. We save a lot of money on print for people.
Right.
And the other one, merchant credit cards, again, it's about new players in the market. There's some quite innovative products going on, and it's very changeable. And people are always trying to grab market share, so they adjust their rates. So we keep an eye on all that sort of stuff and advise clients all the time.
Yeah, I noticed you didn't mention utilities. Is that just too complicated and mind-blowing to try and work out what's going on?
No. It's one where the continuous process of change in the utilities market, it's only going up, so it's not really a change. So it is relatively easy to save money in that area.
Yeah, okay. And what typical businesses do you work with?
Well, as you can imagine, all companies, organisations should be saving money. So whether you're a Printworks, or whether you're a retailer or a professional services company, or a trade organisation or a union or a charity, and not surprisingly, we've worked with all of those.
Right.
And in fact, for charities, we offer our services for free. So if you've got any on your books, let us know.
Okay. And so when you start off with a new client, what sort of steps do you take? What's the process to?
Well, the process that we use and can be used by the clients themselves. This is not exclusive to us. If the client's got the time to do it, then they should do these things as well.
Yeah.
And basically, we ask 3 questions of every single cost.
Right.
Is that cost really necessary? So we challenge the very existence of the cost itself.
Right.
The second question is, how can we get you to use less of stuff?
Right.
So whether it's turning off the computers before you go home,
right.
or using less energy, using less waste, using less paper, or just being more efficient.
Right.
And then the third question is, can we renegotiate with your existing supplier? Now, quite often the existing suppliers are up for that, and sometimes all it takes is a phone call.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many new price lists appear out of the woodwork once we've made a call.
Okay.
But sometimes it's about you're working with the big conglomerates and that, and they don't want to negotiate. So we'll find you an alternative, a better supplier who is cheaper. And perhaps surprisingly, maybe we probably save most companies money on question 2, being more efficient.
Okay, and they're happy to listen.
Yeah, it becomes about actually doing the work.
You're changing habits, then, aren't you?
Yeah, you can do, and some of them implement it very quickly. They prioritise it, and that's part of what we do. If they want help doing that, then we'll help them with that as well. But quite often we present them with the report, and then they decide, what order they want to change things in. Because it is, you're presenting them with change, which is always difficult.
Okay. So do you have tips that you can give businesses now as to what they can do to save costs?
Well, I think one of them you mentioned already was energy, and the trick around the energy contracts these days is to make sure that you know when your energy contract is up. Because there's a very small window where you're allowed to give notice on energy contracts. And it's like, the third Thursday when there's a full moon. And if you don't do it then, they will just roll you over into another contract at higher rates, and you'll be stuck in it for years on end. We often come across clients who are stuck in it for another 3 years, and the contract has just been renewed. They're often 40% above market rates. So you've got to look at that. The second one, probably for small businesses, is actually business rates. 41% of companies in the UK are not claiming the business rate reductions. And that's relatively straightforward to sort out. It's downloading a form from the local council and just filling it in. They take time, obviously, but you can backdate it as well. So if you haven't claimed for a couple of years, you can get a nice little pot. So that's obviously worth checking. And then the third one is probably telephony. So if you've got the initials BT on your telephone bill, then in our experience, 93% of the time you're paying too much. And that these days, changing telephony is very straightforward. All the lines are owned by BT. So at the back end, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to dig up the road and put a new line in or anything. We do save a lot of people money on telephony.
We mentioned the complexity of certain things, well, particularly for me, like utilities. How do you stay on top of all the different costs?
Well, as you can imagine, I don't know the cost of everything. I have no intention of knowing the cost of everything. So we work with now over 75 experts in their field, and they keep an eye on market trends, and they keep doing the benchmarking for us, and they alert us when anything's going on special. For example, the merchant credit cards, if there's a new player in the market. And so we work with them on a continuous basis, and we get them in when necessary. And if we don't have an expert, then we'll go and find one.
Okay. Who are these experts?
Well, they are experts in their field. So they are suppliers, or we work sometimes with universities and things. So it depends on how big the client is as to which sort of expert they need, and we try and match people.
Okay. And in terms of new business for you, how do you go about finding it?
Actually, we're doing it in lots of different ways at the moment. So we are doing a bit of telesales. We get some through our website. We do Twitter. We do quite a lot of LinkedIn. Business partnerships. And actually, yesterday we were approached by a company who wanted to white label our services to offer it as part of their own package. That would be interesting. And to see how that goes.
But there must be a lot of demand for your services.
We pick up.
You get a lot of people just approaching you.
Yes, and we pick up probably 40 or 50% of our work from LinkedIn, and then through meeting face to face as well. We do a lot of that, not only to find new clients, but to find experts as well. When we first started out 3 years ago, we had a general insurance company as an expert, but now we've got probably 5. Because they're all very good at their little niches. One's very good at charities. One's very good at import-export. So we start to chop our experts into bits, if you like, so they become even more specialised as we, because then the matching process becomes better.
It must be pretty interesting going to see all these different companies and where they've got so much waste and where they're spending money they shouldn't do. What's sort of the oddest thing you've come across?
It was probably just over a year ago. We were working with an Indian catering company. As you can imagine, they do these huge weddings where there's 1,000 people there over a couple of days, and sort of seems to go on and on. And actually, one of the costs they wanted us to work with was live lobsters, because they used to have them in a tank sitting there at the events, and some people would go and choose them. So funny enough, we didn't have an expert in live lobsters, so we had to go and find one, and that was good fun. A couple of weeks finding that, and working out how that industry worked and the sort of fishmongering and the boats and all that sort of stuff. So you learn stuff all the time. And we saved them 25% on their live lobsters.
So what, on the purchase price, or just not having so many in a tight?
No, it was all about purchase price for them.
Okay.
They were very, very keen on the pricing.
Okay. And finally, Marcus, what for those looking at this video, can you offer? You mentioned that your guarantee. Is there anything else you can offer?
Well, I think probably as a reward for perhaps, let's say, making a comment on the blog, and it probably have to be a nice comment, I think. We'll let a company choose a cost, any single cost that they want, and they can send it through to us. Just contact us through the website. My email address is on there, and then we'll benchmark that for them for free.
Well, that's very good of you. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.